Hey everybody, how's it going? Yes, it's another Shoeless Drive video, and yes, the tones are great, and yes, I'm loving this mix. Let's just go for it. I'm going to show you this tune, which I'm working on for something else, and then I'm going to break down how I mix guitars and how I get the tones I love to use. Let's go. So as you can hear there, guys, it's just a silly, groovy, fast metal song, the kind of thing I do on a regular basis. I love to do tunes like this, very groovy, very in your face. The riffs are kind of like caveman. There's not a lot of like technical stuff going on. I mean, the lead is a bit crazy, but it's not like super technical. And I just showed you the drums there. It's the stuff I usually use, the Ugertone Riot Drums kit. The bass is exactly the same as I usually use. Just check like any of my mix videos in the past year, and that's pretty much what I use. Check out the mix video, the Mixing Death Metal the Easy Way 2024 video. That's all broken down on there. But I'm gonna go into the guitars. This is a completely free chain. I'm using the Shoeless Drive. If you don't know what it is, it's a collaboration between me and Wavemind. Chris, the absolute genius, came up with the idea of making some sort of like boost overdrive plugin for metalheads. And I'm like, yes, dude, I've got loads of ideas for that. So sort of the look of it with the foot and the name was me. And then Chris and me just sort of worked out what it was actually sort of going to sound like. And the mid switch here, basically to the right, is more of an aggressive, like attacky sound, great for low tunings, plenty of articulation, and it'll bring your dead strings back to life a little bit. And then if you switch it to the left, it's a bit smoother, better for higher tunings, and better for lead guitar. And if you've got a fairly stringy bright guitar, it'll smoothen it out just a bit. Then the other stuff, drive, you know, the sound of this is very much like a tube screamer type of thing, but it is a lot thicker. The voice of this pedal is a bit more dangerous. I wanted it to sound a bit more dangerous. There's a little bit more low end going on. And at the end of the day, if you want something that sounds exactly like a tube screamer, there's already millions of tube screamer plugins and the actual pedals like out there. So just use that. But the Shoeless Drive is a little bit more gnarly, shall we say. Level is level. The shape, this is basically more aggressive, like a bit more compressed, I think. And then this is just a little bit more towards like a standard tube screamer thing. And you can blend between those sounds. I like it on the aggressive setting here. The gate is a Wavemind gate. You know, if you know Wavemind, he just makes the best gates. They are fantastic. Mix knob is mix, import, output. And the cool thing is you can turn the pedal off and just use these parts of the plugin. So if you just want an overall boost, or if you just want to use the gate, you can. And there's a tuner in there which works amazingly well. Oversampling stuff, you can save your presets. Yeah, it's all great stuff. So res get chugged, that is the setting I'm using for the rhythm guitars. The mids are switched to the right, nice and aggressive, and it's hitting the amp really hard. And I'm hitting this amp really hard. This is the 14 from Vitar Amps or Vadim Taranov. This is like a 14 style amp, and it's super simple, really stripped down from some of the other 14 amps that are out there. So input, and you got your volume, which is your output, obviously, gain, bass, middle, treble, like that's it. Like this is kind of perfect for me. This is all I really want from an amp sim. Maybe a depth and a presence, but yeah, you don't really need them with this kind of amp sim because it just sounds great, really, out the box. But I'll just scoop some mids a little bit, raise the bass a little bit, make it sound a little bit more dangerous and chunky and in your face. The treble is quite forgiving, so I've boosted it a little bit. And the gain character of this amp is got that 14 thing going on. It has that dry attack kind of clank to it, but obviously you can gain it out if you want, but it does retain that attack that a lot of amps, more traditional amps, don't have. Like Marshalls are a bit more loose, Mesa Boogies in general are a little bit more loose. This is a very modern, attacky, clanky kind of thing. And I'm going into New Old Dude. This is a IR that I made from one of my old favorite Engel cab IRs. It was a free one I found a long time ago, and it is blended 50-50 with Res Barefoot 1, which is another V30 thing. Completely different cabs, and it just makes this really cool, aggressive, well-rounded impulse response. I really like it. And then EQ, nothing you haven't seen before, guys. High pass at 100 Hertz. Cutting out those woolly low mids at 300, just reducing them a little bit. You're not zapping the hell out of them. Reducing at 4K because I don't like this frequency on guitars. It's fairly scratchy. And then a low pass to 9K instead of 8K because I just wanted to get a bit more of that sizzle. Just a little bit more of that sizzle. I usually low pass to about 8K, but 9 sounded good for this mix. Always listen, always be listening, guys. You know, if something just doesn't sound right, get in the EQ, get into the amp sims, get into the chain and start tweaking until it sounds right to you. Don't just absolutely stick to a chain as absolute gospel. Like that's foolish stuff. So this is what guitar number 1 sounds like. It is panned. So I'll just pan it to the center and you can really hear like what I'm working with. As you can hear there, guys, there is a bit of like string noise like coming in there, but in the mix you can't really hear it. I am playing like very tight, you know, if you zoom in, I am, you know, pretty gridded on this riff. I am not quantizing, I do minimal editing, so when it comes to guitars, as you can see, guys, I am just playing the performance and then I will edit as I go, maybe, you know, usually the first section. So if I'm doing like a section of like of 4, like 1, 2, 3, 4 or whatever, the first part of it might be a little bit dodge. So I will either track it again or I'll replace it with a different part of the riff because this riff, you know, repeats. So I will like say, take that section, put it there, you know, copy paste, whatever works, whatever. And if it sounds a bit, you know, unnatural or weird, you can always like play it again. I mean, you know, there's no time limits on these things, like especially not for me. And then for these chuggers, as you can see, I can zoom in, guys, like I'm playing pretty damn tight. But it isn't like robot tight. I don't want to quantize this. Like that is, that's as tight as I want to go, really. Yeah, maybe if I'm doing like the super djenty modern thing, you know, I might want to edit even more, but that sounds pretty good to me. Guitar number 2 is pretty much the same. Might have tweaked the amp slightly different, but I don't think so this time. But the biggest difference is the impulse response. So I've got Super Brutal number 1. This is a blend of loads of my different IRs. I think it's like a blend of like 4. I sort of custom blended them. It's a fairly dark IR. It's definitely darker than New Old Dude, which I like. Like a different guitar sound left and right is the way to go. If you have the exact same guitar sound, that sounds cool, but I like to have a slightly different sound either side. I don't want a wildly different sound because it'll just sound lopsided, but a slightly different sound either side can give you more width. It just helps with that. EQ, pretty sure it's the same. Yeah, it looks like it is. And then I go into Nova. This is just one of the best free Q plugins you can get. High pass, low pass and all that stuff. And then you've got these bands here. If you click threshold here, you reveal the multi-band controls. So you can turn this band into a compressor. And I've showed all this stuff before. It just works really well for that anti-sneak trick. So I'll go for the chunky part here, and you'll see this band here working around whatever it is, 200 hertz. Let's look at it. As you can see, it's working really hard there. It's reducing between like, you know, sort of 2 and like 5 dB. That's a little bit more than I usually do, but there was a lot of heft and ka-chunk on this song. It's a very hefty, chunky chug. I'm in drop A sharp. The low end can get pretty out of hand on chugs like that if you don't control them, and this just does that really well. And then I'm reducing it 3.5K again. Like if I turn this off, you'll hear a little bit of a difference. It's just a really annoying frequency. Around 3.5K, you just get this like really horrible sound. I will turn it off and then turn it on here and there. You know, it's fairly subtle, but you know, it can get really bad on certain riffs, especially if you're doing a lot of like ringing out chords. On like chug 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 stuff, it's not as apparent, but yeah, it's good to control those frequencies like that. I didn't feel it needed a further low pass because on re-EQ it tends to lob off everything I want, but I do want to do a further high pass on the bus here. So this is on the bus. Both guitars are going through this EQ, just to make that clear. So further high pass at 100 hertz, just to get rid of everything below 100, because re-EQ I find doesn't quite get rid of all that low end. And this further high pass on Nova just lobs it all off, keeping it tight. Yeah, you get guys who high pass lower than this, like 80 hertz or 90 hertz. And yeah, that's cool for like certain tunings, certain tones. You might want more heft. Say if you got more mids in your tone, you might want to high pass a little bit lower towards like 80 or 90. But if you got like a scooped sound, you know, you're already fighting that low end more because there's just less mids. You know, you bring down the mids, you get more highs and more lows. And then you're in a lower tuning, it's just compounded. You get more and more chunk low end. So I really don't find there's anything below 100 that I need for the tones I'm going for. And then the lead guitar here, guys, I mean, like you've heard and seen this stuff a million times. Bunch of widdly woos, good stuff. So I've got the Shoeless drive again, but I've got the mids turned to the left, so it's a smoother sound for the lead guitar. And the shape is somewhere in the middle, just to get like a slightly different sound. I'm boosting the output a bit into the amp. I like a more gained out sound for lead generally, and I want more mids. Now, if you want like a fair whack of mids that's very thick, you can't go wrong with Teaser by Vadim Tarnoff. Yes, these are Windows only plugins. And you Mac guys, if you want to try out the Vitar amp stuff, there is the Ugratone Ampenstein stuff. He's got like a Mesa Boogie on there, and he does have a crank style amp on there as well, and I think they're available for Mac if you want to check those out, but they are primo. Now this amp, yeah, you can see I'm scooping a bit there, but the mid-range is so thick, like anything above like sort of 10 o'clock is very like kind of barky. You know, this is like a diesel VH4 sim. And again, very simple. You know, there's no bass, there's no depth and presence controls. It's just your 3-band, your input, your output, your gain. And this is fairly gained out. And I really like the sound it gives. I've used it on quite a few EPs and quite a few releases. I went with Super Brutal #1 again, because again, this is quite a dark IR and keeps leads nice and smooth. I like the way it sounds. Chorus for a bit of widening. Like, I'll turn this off, guys. You can hear the difference like straight away. I'll just do it in the mix. I'll just keep turning it on and off. It's not about making it louder, it's about making it sort of spread over the stereo spectrum. So it's definitely up the middle, but it spreads towards the sides a little bit with this mix knob. And there's a little bit of, you know, speed, a little bit of depth going on there. The speed's quite low just to give it that nice sort of Slightly subtle chorus sound. Don't want it to be like super swimmy, super washy, but it sounds really nice. Sanford delay. The delays I use on leads change here and there, and the settings definitely change. I love the Sanford. It's got a nice kind of epic washy sound. It might be one of my favorites for guitar. Honestly, it's really, really nice. You can set the left and right sides, so it's kind of ping-ponging to get the sound I want for lead. It's fantastic. I really like it, and it's totally free. This is all free stuff, guys. All the guitar stuff is like completely free. And then EQ, I felt it was sounding like a little bit thin. It was like really, really weird. Like maybe because of the chuggers underneath, and like there's a lot of like double kicks going on. I just felt like the lead was sounding a little bit narrow, like a little bit thin or something. So I had the high pass up to about 200. So I just brought it down to like 186, and that thickened it up just a little bit. Again, guys, don't take your chains as absolute gospel. They might not work with every tune. And then, you know, little dip at 4K as I always do. And then the low pass, yes, like 6,500 hertz. You know, I don't want loads of shrill top end of my leads. It's just not what I like. So that's what I like about guitars, dudes. Like, I really like a kind of scooped. Let's just listen to this. I can hear that kind of like tone, 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 tone. I want it to kind of like really raw. I want to sound like I'm pushing air, because I'm not pushing any air. Like, you know, I'm not plugged into a real amp through a real cab. These are my own impulse responses that I, you know, captured from real cabs. But, you know, if you use a really, really, really good sim, which I think the 14 is, and, you know, this is completely free, it just makes the guitars come alive. It really does. I like a fair whack of gain. I like it to be saturated. I don't like the guitars to be too dry. I'm not going for absolute clarity. I will sacrifice clarity for cool, dirty vibes, you know, so to speak. So like some guys just won't scoop their mids. They just won't do it because they're like, oh, it sounds like shit. And I'm like, well, you know, maybe bring them down a little bit, you know, reduce the mids a little bit, because you get like more danger. You really do. And especially if I'm going for like an old school thing, like a 90s or an 80s thrash thing, like I'm taking those mids down, you know, almost all the way. Like on the Habitual Slaughter stuff, like the mids are off. And on the bus, I'm scooping them even more. But for this kind of thing, like down tuned to A sharp, you kind of need the mids in there to be able to hear what the hell's going on, to be honest. So that is what I love about guitars. This chain at the moment, I'm loving it. And the fact that it's free, you know, I get a kick out of that. And you guys would definitely get a kick out of that. If you're looking for this kind of sound, this kind of amp sim sound for free on Mac, I'm not really sure what's out there. But with the Shoeless drive in there, going through this IR, which is completely free, it will get you most of the way there. Honestly, you know, even if you use, say, Emissary, like put Emissary here, scoop it a bit, mess with the shape button on Emissary, on the lead channel or the gain channel, you know, just mess with that, mess with your low mids and your high mids, and you can get something kind of close to this, but I just think this is a better sim for the sound I'm going for. Check out the Shoeless drive. Seriously, even if you're using like a Primo plugin and I've got loads of boost pedals, I don't need this. Check this out anyway. Turn off those boost pedals and put Shoeless drive before them. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Enjoy, guys. Hey, since you're still here, why not check out my music? I've got the crazy brutal stuff like Nest of Scum and Habitual Slaughter over on Bandcamp, and my latest release, By the Horns, is now available on all streaming platforms. If you want something more melodic, check out my Resinton albums, available on all streaming platforms also. And if you just like the instrumental demos from here on the channel, I have the Demo Collection series exclusively on Bandcamp. So what are you waiting for? Check it all out. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. And subscribe if you want to see more metal related stuff. I'll be back sometime with a video on something else. So until then, ciao.